Hey everyone, it's Sean with Digital Crafts coming to you from my command center here with the online program. We've added online options for all of our boot camps right now, and you might be wondering if an online or an in-person class is a good fit for you. I'll actually be teaching a fully online immersive class starting in July, and I've been remote for most of my career, and based on that experience, I've noticed a few things that I believe will help people make this decision. Obviously, everyone has a unique learning style, a preferred way of working, and environments in which they're the most productive. So here are 4 things that I think you should consider when you're thinking about taking an online class versus an in-person class. First, where are you located? Do you have the literal bandwidth for a remote class? Do you have a dedicated space in your home for remote learning or remote work? And are you comfortable in an online setting? Let's jump into each of these. First, where are you located? Depending on where you live, an in-person class might not be feasible or at least not convenient. Cities like Atlanta and Houston are notorious for their traffic. For example, we have students who have driven up to 2 hours or more just to get to the Atlanta campus. We've also had students who have had to set up temporary living arrangements during their cohort, primarily because they just live too far away to make a daily commute reasonable. In these situations, attending an online campus will offer you the same level of instruction, the same network of classmates and Digital Crafts alumni, our career support program, and the rest of the Digital Crafts team without the need for temporary relocation or traffic woes. Next, you have to ask yourself, do you have the bandwidth for a remote class? This is both literal and figurative. Participating in a remote class means streaming a lot of video, both to and from your computer. Related to where you live, there might be bandwidth limitations that prevent you from being able to have a fast enough or stable enough connection to attend an online class. Slow or glitchy video can mean that you spend more time trying to catch up than you are able to participate. In addition, working from home can be daunting, particularly if it's not something you've done regularly. Making sure that you have some sort of pattern or set of habits that mirror going to work or going to school, whichever you prefer. It's actually helped me tremendously to have those habits and patterns. When I started working remotely, it helped create sort of the mental bandwidth by putting myself in a state of mind that is independent of the tasks I would normally have to do at home. Which then leads me into the next point. Do you actually have a dedicated space in your home for remote learning? I talked about having that headspace. Sometimes the physical space is key to that. It's something that I think that is easy to overlook, but it's also really important. It's much easier to get into that headspace if you can define an actual space dedicated to where you work or learn, etc. For example, here in my house, I have the command center. It's a room that I've designated as my office, and when I walk into this room, I consider myself at work, and when I walk out of the room, I treat it the same as leaving an office. At the end of the day, sign out of my apps, put my computer to sleep, try not to return to this room until I start the next day. Same goes for weekends. Obviously, the lines between work and home can get blurry, but I try to keep this distinction as much as possible. I've tried working from other places in the house, the kitchen, sitting on the couch in the living room, and even my bedroom, and really none of those worked. It felt too much like work was intruding on my life. I realize that not everyone has the ability to have a space to turn a room into an office, but I would say, if at all possible, try to find some kind of area that can be designated your work space. It doesn't need to be any more than a dedicated desk somewhere. If you can train yourself and, if necessary, your family to treat that as the space where you go to work, then balancing the needs of home and class will be much easier. Lastly, you have to make sure that you are comfortable in an online setting. In a physical classroom, the instructor will do their best to kind of read the room, look around and read everybody's expressions and faces. They're going to try to gauge how well a topic was or wasn't understood. It's a really valuable piece of feedback for the instructor, and it helps set the pace for the class. In an online environment, the only way to facilitate this kind of feedback is for everybody to be what I call on camera. It's going to require having a webcam, although most modern laptops and some desktops have these, and you're going to have the camera on. With the camera on, the instructor can do their best to read your facial expressions, or at least have a better idea of when to pause or slow down. If nothing else, it lets the instructor know when you want to speak, so we can slow down or pause and answer that question. What we see on our screens is an indicator for how fast or slow we should be going, and your feedback is valuable. Having your camera and microphone on is also going to be much easier if you have that dedicated workspace that I talked about in the last step. Try to make sure that you've got adequate lighting, that the camera is actually capturing your face and not just like your forehead or the back wall. Make sure there's minimal background noise. I definitely recommend a good set of headphones, otherwise the audio can also do this really uncomfortable feedback loop. All of our online courses are recorded, and that gives you the ability to review them later. And the live stream actually gives you the ability to do a little bit of screenshots when you need to. You can screenshot a demo, a whiteboard, or even chat messages. Both the videos and the screenshots are a great way to build up some ancillary material regarding the topic where you might be struggling. It's almost like having a DVR for the lesson. Whether you're taking an in-person class or online, the key is always going to be active participation on your part. Pertinent links are often shared via Slack or Zoom chat, whether from the instructor, teaching assistants, or your fellow students. So if you're taking an online class, these communications methods become even more important. Make sure that you're taking part, engaging with the material, and where pertinent, speaking up to ask for additional help and or helping another student. As always, if you'd like more information about our classes, whether in person or online, go to digitalcrafts.com, and there you'll find information about our classes in Atlanta, Houston, our new campus in Seattle, and the brand new online programs that we're about to launch.